So to absolutely no one's surprise, recently both SRAM and Shimano announced their impending 13-speed group sets, probably the most predictable upgrades ever. Spoiler alert, but I bet they're already working on 14-speed and 15-speed drivetrains with wireless braking, AI shifting, machine learning capabilities able to shift for you, and it will also come with a downloadable so you can put it on your Zwift bike. I really hate this future that we're moving towards. And no doubt, even with the increased number of gears, the range will probably be the same, perpetually cutting the same size pizza into ever and ever smaller triangles. The question I ask myself whenever I see these really unremarkable, unsurprising upgrades is who asked for these and why? And more, as much of a charitable read I want to give it, to me the answers are no one and money. Because let's get real, every few years, a new group set gets trotted out and all the big bike media outlets gush about how precise and perfect the shifting is, rendering the previous iterations, worthless, and how this finally is the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's a new group set of the people, yada, 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 ad nauseum. And maybe they'll throw in, so-and-so won this race with it, so therefore you should buy it. Only to repeat the same song and dance for the next shiny object a few years down the road. Am I the only one that's kind of getting tired of this increased, gear fatigue? And the thing is, as much as I hate these innovations, I understand why they do it. Look, I think we can all agree that the bicycle is a mature product. All its major flaws and problems have been solved, and for a while. Two wheels of equal size, pneumatic tires, a triangulated frame, brakes, and some sort of drive mechanism, and that's it. There's very little that can be meaningfully improved upon on the bike. Essence is there and it's perfect. It is a solved problem. I think we're in that lifespan of the bicycle where what else is there to do but mess with perfection? At this point, most bike brands, especially the component companies, are just fiddling with the details. It's like a painter who doesn't have the discipline to not mess with a masterpiece and just call the work done. And the thing is, they have to keep doing this. They have to do it to keep the lights on, to keep the money rolling in, to keep growing the business. I feel like at this point, the goal isn't to make better bikes necessarily or to make them meaningfully better. The goal is to obfuscate the fact that most people's bikes are already pretty good and you have to manufacture new problems to be solved. I think the truth is that any decent bike that you bought within the last 20 years could potentially be your bike for a lifetime. Think about that. Outside of tweaks to make it fit over time, everything it needs to be a functional bike is already there. I'd go so far to say as we could probably literally stop any new development in bike tech this very second, and all the bikes we have would be perfectly rideable until the eventual heat death of our solar system, and our level of joy in riding a bike would probably be the same. I don't know what else you could add to make riding a bike more fun. For me, certainly another gear isn't it. Maybe more range, I'd be stoked on that. But the sad truth is that component companies have to keep improving things, diddling with a masterpiece to stay in business. Hence, I'm going to borrow a brand new economics term. We are in the enshittification stage of bicycles, where the value to the end user, that's you and me, has largely been fulfilled. And now it's about shifting value to a handful of component companies to keep them in business or their shareholders. We're in that late stage where upgrades and standards aren't created to solve real problems anymore, but because they're essentially part of a publishing schedule to keep profits rolling in and to keep people buying new things and new bikes. I swear I wasn't this cynical when I first started cycling, but it's really hard to see it otherwise when every 2 years bikes get another gear, but no increase in range. Things are getting increasingly computerized and put in black boxes where you need apps to manipulate them, essentially making us more reliant on single companies to keep our bikes moving. That is just bananas. I think specifically, if we're going to point fingers at who's causing most of the enshittification, I think it's the component manufacturers. Frame builders build bikes to match the existing components. I mean, think of all the recent compatibility headaches you've experienced. It always goes back to the component manufacturers and not the people making the actual frames, broadly speaking here. That's the reason why mountain and road group sets stopped talking to each other after 9 or 10 speed and are only now being reunited, but you had to do it electronically. Or there was that dark and horrible span of time when it seemed as if like every 3 months there was a brand new press fit bottom bracket standard. And now chains are incompatible. It used to be up until 11 speed, there was generally good compatibility between the component brands and even between road and mountain groups. That's no longer the case. With 12 speed and likely 13 speed, there are going to be road chains that only work with road bikes and mountain bike chains that only work with mountain bikes, and they only work within their brands. This is just the start of it. It's probably going to get worse. And look, I can already hear the comments. I'm no Luddite. I might be becoming a boomer now, but I use a computer. Clearly, I edit videos. I'm not anti-technology. I use a lot of tech in my day-to-day, but I only adopt that tech when it makes a meaningful benefit to me. I am, however, really skeptical of whiz-bang technology that promises the world, and in reality, all you end up is with a JPEG of a monkey. There was a time, which I don't think was that long ago, where the value of something was in its longevity and its durability. I think we've been tricked into trading, compatibility and durability and longevity for ease of use, for convenience and aerodynamics. Sadly, however, I don't have any solutions. There's likely nothing we can do to stop this enshittification process. I think even if there was an engineer at SRAM or Shimano that felt this way, it's their job to keep on publishing components with new gears and manufacturing solutions to problems that didn't really exist, at least in my opinion. We see this in all industries, and what actually made me think of making this video was a video I was watching in the camera YouTube space. Someone was positing that Sony was likely to create a new camera mount. Not because there was anything wrong with their current mount or their current cameras, it's that their lens lineup was fully mature, fully fleshed out, and they can't survive on the sale of just new cameras. They need to sell lenses. So to solve this, the possible solution would be to create a new standard, a new camera mount, so that there are more lenses for people to buy. This should sound strangely familiar. At the end of the day, we can at least be aware of this problem and ask ourselves if this new upgrade is really fixing a problem or making things worse, or just ever corralling us into a future of ever more disposable components and bikes. And if you work in bike media, you should be a little bit more critical and talk about these things. I can try to point this out and show alternatives, but at the end of the day, I'm kind of like a small niche channel on the fringes of the bike industry. I'm not sponsored, and videos like this are probably why. I came to bikes because they provided an analog escape from the daily grind, something simple that I could understand, that I could adapt to myself. And I just see the industry moving further and further away from that. So hence I make these videos. If you like that idea, then please join us on Patreon or pick up a sticker. Like I mentioned, we're not sponsored. Part of it might be because we push back against these major industry trends. Patreon is too much of a commitment. Consider picking up a sticker or a shirt. All the links below. And also let me know what you think of these opinion pieces. Should I do more? They're always a bit of a mixed bag for me because they can potentially do really well. And it's authentically the things I think. I don't want to alienate viewers, but mostly I just don't want to deal with the comments because the comments get like ridiculous. Anyways, if you agree, disagree, found this entertaining, please consider supporting the channel. All the links below. And as always, keep the supple side down.